Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ratcast. Today, I am again joined by my friends MS or MSPG or Wasabi or however you know him,
Blah.
and my other dear friend Shredded Paper Plate, also known as Jim Jones. What great names to be known by.
Howdy. Welcome all.
All right, so today we were doing the topic of, what was it, childhood, in general?
The games we played as childhood. Yeah, I guess childhood in general as well, but the games we played as a child.
All right. Well, which one of us wants to go first?
One of you, because you will probably have played more video games growing up than I did.
Believe it or not, I didn't actually play a lot of video games when I was growing up, but I think this is more of an opportunity to talk about our childhood and how each of us represents a different age group, slightly distinct from each other. And we could talk about the effects and the culture of those days when we were young.
I played a lot of games growing up. I was a gamer, as you could call it.
Wow. Racists? I can't believe it. In my podcast.
But I guess I could start. So I guess my first real experience playing games was, I think it was when my dad got us a Wii for Christmas, and that was, I want to say 2008, 2009. I don't know. I remember it being like a big fucking deal at the time. And I sort of grew up in the 2000s and early 2010s, and playing a lot of Wii games, and eventually we got an Xbox 360 and then a PS4. But I sort of grew up playing those and playing Flash games and like early Roblox. It's something I think is fascinating that Roblox has sort of made a bit of a comeback to the point when, the whole Max versus Reese war on Roblox, I find a little bit surreal.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing Roblox when I was like 10.
Yeah, and I definitely, the thing is I played Roblox when I was a bit older, but it was, yes, Cat, I know, but it was always a thing. I didn't expect. Roblox is one of the biggest companies in like the US. It's like actually really powerful, and it makes a lot of its money through really scummy practices. And it's sad to see it become so big and become so influential.
Although, I do think, if we think about some of the positives that came out of Roblox, it did get a lot of people into game design and game development that I don't think they really would have gotten into elsewhere, because a lot of those early Roblox games, the developers later went on to make real games. I mean, I think Unturned is a good example.
Yeah, Unturned is a great example, and the guy who did that, he was like 17 at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah. He did. He literally learned about game design through Roblox.
Yeah, and he did a great job, because Unturned is a genuinely fun game.
Yeah, I used to play in a group of people with Unturned. That was almost 8 years ago, I think.
See, my game experience is so dated that I remember when demo discs were a thing.
So, let's do this by age. When I was growing up, my family didn't have a lot of money. But we had an old beat-up PC. We had a PS2 and we had a VHS system. And so, when we were doing all of that, a lot of the games I played, they were kind of like bargain bin PS2 games, or PS2 games that were legally acquired, trust me, bro, or old PC games. And so I grew up a lot with Planescape Torment. I grew up a lot with the original Fallouts, Rise of Nations, which is one of my dad's favorites. And I grew up with like the SOCOM games on PS2. Very underrated games, very good. And yeah. And a lot of when I was growing up, I was exposed to all this media that a lot of my peers weren't. And today, it still continues to make people think that I'm like 10 years older than I am, which is bullshit. I think it's also the voice that might.
Like 60% the voice, I think.
Yeah. And believe it or not, that's not because of age. That's because of throat damage. I just have a fucked up throat, but it makes you sound older, I guess. And
No,
yeah,
I know somebody else with a great voice who has like terrible throat damage from when he smoked.
yeah, no, and that causes it sometimes.
Still gives you a voice like Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, no. Or what's his? Oh my god, the guy who sung the piano has been drinking. I can't believe I just forgot his fucking name. The piano has been drinking, not me. He's one of my favorites. Yeah, though, I really grew up. I was like the last little poof of the pre-internet generation, where most of my childhood I did not have internet. And internet was like kind of a thing for dweebs. And also my family couldn't afford internet, so
I guess would be what you would consider the internet native, you know. When they I guess that's, you know, really like the solid core Zoomer generation.
Mhm.
But since we're on the matter of old games, see, I am also a massive fan of old games, but that actually is a more recent development. When I got into high school, I needed to get a computer, so I ended up getting an old, I think, 2008 MacBook.
Mhm.
And this this terrible beat up computer, could run nothing except like Microsoft Word. What I did find though was that I could emulate older games, and also I maybe didn't pay for them. I totally legal though, illegally acquired by not
Legally
paying for them.
acquired.
Yes,
Legally.
yes. So during that time, I got really into isometric RPGs and really into immersive sims and really into Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, and
Which I'd kind of been in since middle school, with when I installed a Steam account on one of the library computers without telling anybody. I stashed the Steam file in the documents folder. Um,
sneaky.
yeah, if you want to hide an application, hide it in the documents folder. Nobody goes looking there. And
Yeah.
so, don't ask where the 30 gigabytes of space is going. And I would play Team Fortress 2 after school. And I'd play like Saxton Hale mode and those two fort games that would go on for like 3 hours because everybody just has too many engineers.
Yes. Now, I do want to quickly divert to MS because I want to hear about your childhood as well.
Okay, so for context, I was born at the very strange tail end of what is considered year-wise to be like millennials. So I didn't grow up in any sense with like the 80s consumer culture, and I was still an infant when like gaming culture started to emerge in the mid 90s. So I didn't have video games until after 9/11.
Hmm.
And my first video game was on a PS2, and that was Jack and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. And I thought that game was awesome. It's basic bullshit platformer game, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to give like further technological context to my living situation. We had a landline up until 2009. We had DSL between I think 2010 and 2013. So like I just did not have the internet outside of my schooling and the local library. And we had just like a 30-inch Sony CRT TV that cost more than my parents' car. So we just had no tech, and so I didn't experience gaming unless it was over at someone else's house.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until 2005, I think, I got an Xbox and a GameCube because my dad had gone from not making money really bad to suddenly we started to have money again. and I played Halo, which they thought was okay because everyone's blood was different colors.
Oh my god, yeah, my fucking parents did the exact same thing.
But I also had a copy of the video game movie adaptation, one of the best that was ever made, of Doom with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh,
That
Nice.
DVD
yes.
that DVD came with special features that included the developer commentary for Doom 3 and like promotional material. I thought that was the coolest shit, but they also said if you put this disc into an Xbox, you can play the demo, which is the opening mission of Doom 3. And for about a year, I would sneak over to my cousin's house with my Xbox and play on their TV. I'd be watching this movie and they'd be like, "Oh, well, it's just a crazy action horror movie. No problem. Just don't play those M-rated games." And I'd be like, "Okay." And then I'd put the disc in and play the first hour of Doom 3
You little
and be like,
devilish
"This
fucker.
is the coolest
Well,
thing I've ever seen in my life."
yeah. And since we're on this topic, so and I was my parents being the very upstrong sort of clergy types that they were, forbade me from playing violent video games. Now, as you can imagine, that didn't work.
It never
And
works, really.
I would like, I would sneak downstairs at night to play video games, and I'd stay up for hours on end and be constantly tired in the morning. But it was during that time sort of that I got into the games that I sort of still play today. When I sort of first got into those, that and during high school. Although I do have memories of playing Deus Ex in like the 8th grade on a friend's computer
Nice.
because it was in a bin of games that he had gotten in a garage sale.
Fucking nice, though. Deus Ex of
Oh
all
yeah,
games. Did he like Deus Ex, I assume?
yeah, he was trying to get me into it, and I was like, I don't fucking know what this game is, and it was a little bit beyond me at the time. And then about a year or two later, when I had my own computer, I went back and I played it. I fucking loved it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I got into the old Fallout games. I got into System Shock. I was really into StarCraft, but one of the things that happened,
You fucking nerd!
yeah, I am, as I said, I am what we call a gamer.
Oh, fucking gamer,
No,
man.
no, see,
Jesus
see, when it comes
Christ.
to StarCraft, no, see, because I couldn't play, my parents didn't want me playing really violent video games, and my brother, being several years older than me, could play those games. I went to the next best thing. I read books. So I actually read every single StarCraft book.
Oh my
I read
goodness.
all
my
of the Halo books.
You fucking dweeb. Jesus
I read-
Christ.
I read the Doom 3 novelization.
Oh my god.
That doesn't exist. Shut up.
no, it
It's real.
does.
It's real. No, I know that's
Um,
real.
I own it. I still own it.
I read
I
the
read I read the Mass Effect books too.
I read the
Jesus.
Diablo compilation novel, which is like 5 separate books written by different people in the Diablo universe. None of them are good.
Here's the thing, and I also may own a copy of the StarCraft manga, the one they don't want you to know about.
Oh, does it have like icky child stuff in it or something?
No, no, it was just like back in the early 2000s when like Tokyo Pop would make manga for anyone who asked, and it's not great. It's always it is very much sort of StarCraft with an anime coat of paint.
You actually,
You know,
I have something. Have you ever read? Okay. Have you ever read the Mein Kampf manga adaptation?
no, Core, I haven't. Why would I read that?
I haven't, but I do have.
I
I have from my childhood. I have the manga Bible.
Hang on, like
Oh my fucking!
Let
That
me-
sounds fucking great, though. I mean,
No,
okay, just on the whole StarCraft thing. I have a picture of it for the StarCraft manga. You could like edit this in.
I probably
It's
won't. I'm kind of a lazy asshole, but sure.
to the this is what it looked like.
It doesn't
Oh,
even look. The tech doesn't even look like StarCraft much.
No, it doesn't.
that looks like Halo.
It looks like StarCraft with an anime coat of paint. But that was sort of like what got me, like me being the incredibly impressionable kid that I was, and saying, "Wow, StarCraft, those cool guys in armor, that is so cool." You know,
He's me for real, for real.
yeah, being the impressionable kid I was, wanted anything close to that. Although I did become a big fan of Neil Kaplan during that time, and he is a phenomenal voice actor
Hmm.
and has narrated quite a few audiobooks. And
Nice,
I still listen to his stuff today.
nice.
My
Now,
evolution as a gamer began towards the tail end of middle school and into high school, where like all the Rock Band and Guitar Hero stuff came out, and that became a big thing in our community where we would go to people's houses and have like 8 dudes in the basement alternating around Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
Yeah, I remember that.
you're sure that was the only? Never mind. I'm not going to finish that sentence.
There was a time their dog
don't.
ripped off a part of my face.
Jesus
no.
Christ.
It was my fault, and I do not hold any grudges. But that was a thing where I had to deal with it for like a month because I was like, no, don't give me stitches. And so
Oh,
the
dear.
doctor, there was this short Indian man. He's like, well, it isn't that deep, so we could give you Neosporin and some vitamin E. And so every morning I would just smear half my face with Neosporin and vitamin E capsules, which I would have to poke it with a needle to burst out the oil. And I basically don't have a scar from it.
The scar would have been
You-
cool though. I have when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I was a fucking genius, right? And so I loved to eat Play-Doh. And- I love to eat Play-Doh. I thought it was the best thing in the world. One time, so I wasn't supposed to eat the Play-Doh, but I did anyway. And one time I ate so much of it, and I started to puke. And then I puked, and then I stepped forward, kind of like you get like stumbling step forward while you're puking kind of thing. And I slipped, and this was in like this cafeteria, and you know you have like if you knew the time, you knew that you always had those like metal folding cafeteria tables that they always had.
Yes.
I slipped and I cracked my jaw directly on one of the little spike things, and I slightly impaled myself on it. And I have
geez.
just this giant scar right underneath my chin where no hair grows. And so my beard is just goes all the way around that have a patch there where nothing grows. Because
Male pattern baldness on your chin.
I know, it literally looks like that. It looks so bad. Oh, well, it's not on my chin, luckily. It's right below it, so I can hide it with like the hair that goes over it, like a comb over, basically. But
Donald
yeah,
Trump method.
no hair grows there because I fucked up that area. That area is just fucked, and the scars there is huge. It's not really there anymore, but you can still see where there's no hair. I was a fucking genius as a kid, by the way. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
So back to parents having arbitrary rules when it comes to video games.
Mhm.
One of the things I had to argue the hardest for was when the Xbox 360 came out. Elder Scrolls Oblivion was my first introduction and is still my earliest introduction to the series.
Really?
But they released it and they changed the rating because some retard figured out that you could, on the PC, mod the clothes off. Which, for some reason, the SRB was like, oh, so that's in the game. No, you have to modify the game to do that.
They don't understand how video games work, yet they rate all video games. It's a commonly known joke.
So I had to argue with my parents for, I shit you not, like 3 months straight
Oh my
to get
god.
this game. Because I was like, it was teen a month ago. And eventually they did cave and get it, and I thought it was one of the coolest games ever. And it was one of the only games that I ever bought DLC from that wasn't Halo 3. But those years of like 2007 to 2009 were like the halcyon days of like I was just old enough to start appreciating like video games as games more so than just like as something you did,
Mhm.
and like the mechanics, the art, the music, all that shit. And that was when I got into like Metal Gear Solid 4 was my first introduction to the series. I kept like getting into these series which has already had several games. And according to people later on, like worse iterations of those previous games.
Yeah, the difference between oh no, we're not going back to the fucking Elder Scrolls. No, we just did that. Okay, no,
Oh,
just
but
ignore
like
what I was about to say.
sequels were like a big part of my development as a gamer. But it wasn't until I got into high school where I actually had like a gaming PC and a bit more financial independence. I would do jobs on the summer and in between different semesters, depending on availability. And I would just save up money and be like, oh, well, that was 3 weeks of odd jobs. Now I can afford a video game. I can afford a controller. I can break a controller.
Yeah.
I had my Xbox 360 burn out 3 times, but each time it was covered by Microsoft. They were actually pretty cool about replacement, unlike every other company I've dealt with since.
Well, it's because Microsoft's policy, it's more about the games that you buy, like the console doesn't matter as much. They make
Oh,
money after
absolutely.
every
I'm just
game is
talking about how, like, the Red Ring of Death, while it was happening, people thought was just like the most insane thing that you could possibly ship a console that would have an issue like that, where if you just played it for 6, 7 hours straight, you ran the risk of it just like having catastrophic failure. Now it's like, look at modern consoles and look at games in general, and
Oh
the
yeah.
quality is so much worse objectively, just from the technical instability standpoint.
And a lot of that comes from they're trying to release these games in schedules that do not work. The biggest thing that causes video games to have a lot of issues right now, it's scheduling. They don't have enough time to development, or they have too much time and fuck around too much.
I think
Almost every single game that had promise and then failed was almost always because the publisher did not give them enough time to finish it.
Yeah. I think as well that with consoles, online connectivity and the ability to update games after release kind of put a nail in was the final nail in the coffin of QA, or maybe the first one, because it sort of led to the culture of day one patches.
Mm-hmm.
And together with early access, sort of the perception that, oh, well, we could just release it half done and fix it later. I mean, we're selling units. What's the problem? And then you get a game like Cyberpunk, which is horribly broken on release. Now, there's a flip side to that. In the case of something like Star Citizen, which, as I've heard, they've really turned it around in the years since release, and it's apparently a very good game. My roommate will not shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah,
So
that and
made
No
someone
Man's Sky.
happy.
No Man's Sky is apparently pretty good these days.
Yeah.
And I do
Not Star-
respect.
Did I say Star Citizen?
Yeah, Star Citizen
Yeah.
still is
Sorry.
not out.
Star Citizen, No Man's Sky. No, Star Citizen. We can have a whole nother talk about that. Sorry, slip of the tongue. No man, he
Star
will not shut up about No Man's Sky. Although, to be fair, he does play Star Citizen.
Star Citizen is the equivalent to me of like a furry VN that gets developed for 40 years and never is finished.
It is the yandere simulator of the sci-fi genre.
You know, I know
Do
somebody.
you remember
Oh.
with Yondev, like a guy, when his source code leaked, a guy shit out like a fully playable version of Yonder Sim.
Oh yeah, no, because
Oh, it took
Like
him
in
like
a week.
Yeah, it took him like a week.
because Yandere Dev doesn't actually know how to code, and so, oh god, to delve into the brain rot that is Hearts of Iron 4 modding, it reminds me of
Both you and
where
me have experience in that.
where one of the head developers for the mod didn't know how to code, and so there were some major setbacks with Japan because he managed to bluff it for over a year. Yandere Simulator is just that taken to its extreme, where he doesn't know how to code. It's a scheme. It always has been. You give an actual, and he got a contract with, what was it, with Tiny Build, where they called the people who made Hello Neighbor.
Mhm.
You know, people who actually know how to code. And at that moment, he could have just stepped back, taken up the creative director role, and have somebody make the game for him. greatest sales pitch ever. You've managed to bluff your way to a complete game, but then he fucked it up and killed his own contract, and the game will never come out, which is good because it won't ever be good.
He's
you know.
made the process of making the game his business rather than
Yeah.
the game.
If he finishes it, he stops getting money because you have to face the inevitable fact that very few people actually want to play this game. And so it won't sell enough units to really get him by in the long term. He can make more off Patreon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's also the Star Citizen problem, in that everybody working on it, they know that once development's over, they have to do something else. So instead, they will say, we need more money, and so we're going to design more ships and sell those ships. But then they have to make the ships, which pads the development time. And they've been doing this for years. And it is a never-ending cycle.
Until people get tired of it. But
It will eventually, and it'll ruin the names of everybody's careers, and then they'll end up working out like Activision.
that's the eternal...
They'll fail upwards.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That is the eternal fate of any scammer, is that it works really well for a bit until it ruins your life.
And then you get a job at Activision.
And then you get a job at Activision, yeah.
You get to helm the spiritual successor to a beloved franchise and run it into the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like the guys who made Dead Rising 4, like all of them worked on like
Oh no.
Makes me sad.
like Microsoft fucking golf sim and shit like that, just like garbage that you pay $5 for on the store. They're like,
Although-
Frank's back and better than ever. I love this character. I've worked with it for a long time. It's like, you were never a dev.
No, I know.
you
Although,
talking
to be
about?
fair, I recently played Terminator Resistance.
That's
and these
actually
were-
not a bad
These
game.
were the people. Hang on. Here's the thing. I'd give it like a solid B-. These were the people who made like the Rambo game, which was a
Mhm.
rail shooter. And then they went on and made like the poor man's Fallout 3. And I say that with like the highest
Love,
praise of, I say that with absolute adoration, that these D-team developers shot straight up into like making a B-rate game, which, to be fair, we don't get anymore.
No,
so.
that we talked about this. I talked about this with some lovely furry friends that MS introduced me to, where this was your fault.
Zombo got you in the server. What
No,
are
fuck
talking
you.
about?
You're also in there.
Yeah, I didn't get you in there is my point.
I
Zombo,
stand gladly ignorant of this.
Zombo literally said that you asked him. So fuck you.
Zombo's a fucking liar, and it's wink.
Anyways, he is a twink though. But anyways, what were we talking about? Shit.
We were talking about Terminator Resistance.
Oh yeah, I was really impressed with that because it is a mid-tier, like B single A game, and that is so fucking rare these days. A game that is competent and fun, and it doesn't break any boundaries, but it's good, and it's not trying to be anything else. It's not trying to say it's going to change the world. It's just a good game.
You managed to perfectly capture the aesthetic of the future war scenes from Terminator,
Mhm.
and that you were able to do that, and that was all I expected going in. Was just, and they had a terrible trailer, but I expected like a first-person shooter where it's Terminator Future War, and then about 5 minutes in, they're giving me crafting components and stealth and, like actual med kits. So this isn't a COD ripoff. And then I get to a moment with a lockpick and realize that I'm playing a Fallout game and that
Mhm.
somebody else has come along to eat Bethesda's lunch.
No, it's literally like discount Fallout, but like well made. It
made me so goddamn happy.
And it made me happy too. You don't see good quality ripoffs anymore. That used to be huge. It used to be like the main thing video games did.
Some PS2 era stuff.
Exactly. And that's another point I was making with those people.
Affordable games.
There's
we need those as opposed to your $70 AAA title. 8 years in development, can play for 500 hours. And I just want to play the stupid Terminator game for 20 hours, if that.
And for like $20 and have fun.
Yeah. 40, but yeah, it was worth every penny.
It's still worth every penny. It's like you get $2 per hour. I'm fine with that.
It was a great experience, and I wanted to be the soldier in the future war, and I got that, and it made me happy.
I think the reason why that game had such a positive reaction, because it really had a really positive reaction, people really liked it because it is that mid-tier game. That
Yeah.
game that is not setting out to break all the boundaries. It's not setting out to be the biggest game ever, and it's not setting out to have a super hyper focus on one thing. It's just setting out to be a fun game. A fun game with a good story that's just having a decent time. Just old school third party stuff. It's like how it used to be in the 80s in the movie industry, where you just have a movie that was like, it wasn't a blockbuster, but it wasn't, like a small indie movie either. It was like in the middle, and it was fun. And those were always my favorite kinds of games. That's how Call of Duty used to be. Call of Duty literally originally was a fucking ripoff that was like a good quality ripoff of another game.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, I like that kind of stuff. And it just makes me sad that it's all gone. That you don't have good quality ripoffs anymore.
Yeah, because I think they fill a very important niche in the gaming industry and in people's wallets. And I think it is not a very glamorous business model, but it at one point was a very sustainable one.
Yeah.
And it was sort of, and now I guess we have indie games that have sort of partially filled that void, but if indie is the bottom shelf, and good by all accounts, but very much low quality as it goes when it comes to resources used, and then your AAA, but there's really not much in between, and there really should be, because I feel like there's an entire field of untapped potential and a bunch of IPs that could get used and a bunch of creativity waiting to be harnessed without the overarching management of big companies like Ubisoft and Activision.
And I talked about...
I'm going to explain why that's impossible, though.
No, and
All right.
I was also going to explain why that's impossible, but you go first, MS.
So, the movie industry is now 4 companies in total. They all own all the licenses to every IP that has ever existed in media. And the reason that you are no longer seeing like movie tie-in games or even franchise spin-off individual standalone games is because like devs, in order to be able to make those games, have to kowtow to everything that the studio wants them to.
Yeah.
So it was more Wild West in the mid 2000s because like you could just have EA be like, "Hey, can we make a game from fucking Star Wars?" And Fox or Lucasfilm would just be like, "Yeah, just give us a cut." But now, if you try to do the same thing, they're like, "Okay, we want it to be the Marvel's Avengers video game where it's a cinematic experience."
I'm still not over
with
they
grind.
cut Deus Ex. They cut Deus Ex for fucking Marvel's Avengers. I can't.
Yeah, no. Oh, there's nothing worse than So remember when Netflix cut the Bone cartoon in exchange for the odd one out, oh my god, so relatable Netflix show? I am
Don't remind
so
me.
fucking pissed about that. I cannot express how angry I am about that. Bone is one of the things I fucking grew up with. It is one of the best graphic novel series ever made, and it still can't get a fucking animated adaptation.
See, here's the thing. There's part of me that's just a little bit glad because I worry that if anybody in Hollywood ever got the chance to adapt Bone, they'd run it into the ground.
Well, yeah, because Bone is a very specific satire and a very specific story made by a very specific guy who tells it's his story, it's his baby. And
I gotta go back and read Bone. I read it back in elementary school.
It's so good. It's really good.
I have that perspective, but for my favorite book, because the guy who wants to make it is the most talentless filmmaker I've ever seen.
What book is it?
It's good old Blood Meridian. A violent study on manifest destiny. And James Franco wants to turn it into a film. And he made a demo of what he would do with one of the scenes, which is one of the most iconic scenes in the book. And it was so bad that the guy who owns the rights to the film adaptation said he will die before he lets James Franco get the rights to it.
Yeah.
But he's 82 years old.
Oh, no.
No.
No. Oh, God, that makes me sad. No, the thing with Bone Bone is the opposite problem. A lot of talented people do want to work on Bone because Bone was it's an artist's graphic novel series. It's a graphic novel series that is mostly about the relationship between art and reality and the relationship between different genres and all that. It was made by a cartoonist for cartoonists. He didn't expect anyone would really like it, and it was such a specific thing. It's like Sam and Max. It's such a specific
Yes.
satire that it's very difficult to really adapt it into anything and get people to want it, even though it's popular. But it has a lot of staying power, even though it didn't do that much. Because the thing is, you'd actually like Bone MS because the whole thing is basically you have this civilization of like 30s to 40s kind of like comic strip characters who also exist in this horrific dark fantasy world. And so they still kind of act like it's a 30s, 40s comic serial type thing where they, they're like, and they have all this positive society stuff, but also they're literally like, you will die. This is a very scary world. It's like Berserk, but with fucking 30s cartoon characters. It's hilarious. And it's just such a specific satire. I don't think anyone would ever be able to adapt it. Same thing goes with Sam and Max. Sam and Max is my other beloved series from my childhood. I love Sam and Max, but Sam and Max is such a genre fuck because it doesn't really, it's not like when a producer looks at Sam and Max, it doesn't appeal to children because it is very violent and it is mostly like timely references to old movies from the 50s and shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't appeal to adults because it's very cartoony. Well, it doesn't appeal to adults in their idea because it's very cartoony and a lot of its humor is very crude and kind of goofy. And it doesn't appeal to basically anybody from what they look at it, so they don't adopt it.
Yeah, but these same producers who are saying that it's not going to appeal to anyone are like eating fucking chunks of plastic out of a bag. And then they're the same people who greenlit a re-release of Morbius
Oh,
because it was
exactly.
trending on Twitter.
Exactly.
Like, they're just schizo people who have never interacted with anyone below a net worth of like $3 million. And then they're like, oh my God, it's trending on Twitter. That's a good sign. I'm going to sign the paper today.
No, yeah. And none of these people would ever really be able to get why a lot of these things are funny. Like Sam and Max is the best example. They wouldn't be able to get why it's funny because it's kind of proletarian humor, and that's not very funny to them. They find soulless, sarcastic, anti-human stuff funny. But when it's dry, kind of weird, the Sam and Max's humor is so weird. I don't know how to describe it, but when it's that kind of humor, they'll never take it. Especially the creator, because the creator is the type of person who said that his characters are canonically gay because since they were Saturday morning cartoon characters for a bit, they had their own cartoon. He said it would be really funny if there was canonically gay characters in a Saturday morning cartoon, and that's the only reason why he said it. It's like, that's the creator of it. He's very open with his IP. He doesn't really hold it. He doesn't give a shit. And he's very touched by people being so into it because he literally drew it as a kid. And those kind of creators are the ones who are never going to have their shit adopted into anything important because they're just too eccentric to have anything like that until it's 200 years later. Then you get movies made off of you.
Mhm.
Can I roll it back to one point in video games that I think was brought up 10 minutes ago? Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that I was extremely hyped for after The Witcher 3.
Because Witcher 3 is probably one of the best games ever made, just objectively speaking.
I think there are problems with The Witcher 3, particularly with the main plot or main like quest line.
Yes, but
mechanically and in terms of atmosphere, music, environmental detail, and just the sheer size of the fucking place and not being empty is a really good example of like how you should do an open world game.
Yes.
But after that, I got really hyped for Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk comes out after fucking like a 5-year delay.
I can't remember how long, but it was long.
Yeah, and the thing with Cyberpunk, it came out busted. But, and this is something that has driven me up the fucking wall when it came up. or came out. I've never seen any other game have that much of like a publicized reaction to it being broken. And there are mainstream games which have been infinitely more broken, like every release from Bethesda,
Oh yeah.
where Cyberpunk 2077 had issues with performance. That was pretty much it. And like crashing, graphical fuck ups, glitches, the normal stuff.
Yeah.
Fallout 76 bricked people's computers. Fallout 4 could corrupt your graphics card's internal software. These are like, if you released something like that into any other field but entertainment and video games specifically, that is a class action lawsuit.
Oh,
You are
yeah.
going to be like, the government is going to castrate you, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, no, you'd get sued for millions because you're actively harming consumers' ability to do anything. You're actively
But-
destroying people's property because you couldn't fucking fix one thing.
But Cyberpunk, it was like, it didn't run good on the PS4. It didn't run good on your $700 fucking toaster. And that was a bigger scandal by like magnitudes. I find that very fascinating about game culture.
I
That like a
think it's
PC
because-
game that if a game is designed for consoles and is shit on PC, no one bats an eye. But if a PC game is good on PC and then shit on consoles, well, everyone loses their minds.
Well, I think it's because the PC market, although it's getting bigger and it's probably going to end up becoming dominant pretty soon.
Oh no, it's eclipsed the Xbox and the PlayStation market
yes,
entirely.
but when it comes to popular consumption and popular understanding, as in pop culture, who has the more dominant strain? What do people know more about? Call of Duty or Hearts of Iron? Even though Hearts of Iron outsells Call of Duty, what do people talk about more?
Does it?
Yes,
I don't
it
think
does.
Hearts of Iron does.
No,
What
it
the
actually
fuck?
does.
No.
Yes, it does.
You're fucking lying to me.
It's literally
Iron
got like fucking million.
Core
It's like so insane.
By May 2018, the game has sold a total of 1 million copies worldwide. That's Hearts of Iron 4. What was the last Call of Duty that came
Oh,
out?
shut the fuck up. No, I'm wrong.
Yeah, shut up, Corey. Fucking fool.
If you had been right, I would have had an existential crisis.
I
because there was
know.
no
I'm just
fucking
fucking
way.
with you guys. I just wanted to fucking boil your blood.
Yeah,
It
sure,
wouldn't make
that's
my
what it
blood
is.
boil. It made me lose faith in humanity.
It's also because I'm a bit of a dumbass.
Yeah,
Anyways,
rat brain moment.
rat brain.
Right?
1 second. Let me.
I was like, that's impossible.
No.
But you believed me for a second.
Here's the thing: if it had been true, I would have to I would have had to do something about the developers that work at Paradox. If it ever outsells Call of Duty, then we're gonna need to.
I swear to
need
God,
to do something about that.
MS. If his penis comes out, I swear to God, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed at you.
I
for
cannot
the,
live in a world where Hoy is more popular than COD.
It's gonna be someday. You know it's gonna be.
No. That proves that there are enough enough Nazi LARPer neckbeards in the world that I'm ready to give up now.
Yeah. Anyways, what were you gonna say, MS?
I was gonna say for the audience, I posted a white beard gif, and that's why Core is fearful of penis.
The One Piece. It's
The
real.
One Piece is real.
Then you have the vine thumps on his fucking dick.
My favorite one has like the weird Japanese flute that's like an eerie sound, and then it's like a graphic sex scene between him and Zoro and Luffy.
Oh my fucking God. You know, One Piece is good, and is probably one of the least shit anime / manga that I've ever had the enjoyment of reading and watching. It's too fucking long. Like, no, I mean that 100%. It is too fucking long.
I'm not gonna say it's like really good. However, it avoids a lot of the cliches of the Japanese manga industry. That being said, it has one of the worst dubs I've ever heard in my life.
Well, that's where that one fucking thing comes from. The One Piece. It's real. I know.
His delivery is fine, but there's a scene where doesn't count on spoilers because the fight happened like 5 years ago. But there's a fight between a guy who embodies what my aesthetic would be like if I was rich and ripped, called Doflamingo, and he fights Luffy, and Luffy pulls out a ability where he basically inflates himself like a gorilla. And in the dub, he goes, "Bounce, man!"
Oh, I love early anime dubs. My
Yeah,
favorite.
it's like the worst delivery I've ever heard in a anime. That wasn't like deliberately taking the piss.
Well, yeah, I was about to say the best anime dub I've ever heard was probably the one for Ghost Stories. That one was so good it actually made me like watch the whole thing of Ghost Stories because it's actually pretty funny. Do you ever watch that, MS?
I've seen clips of it, and I know that the mythos behind it was that I think the voice actors were literally just making up lines.
Oh yeah, no, actually I can tell the story. What happened was that Ghost Stories was an anime. It had an anime adaptation. It was kind of like a mid-low level manga, and it got like a mid-low level anime adaptation. You know, pretty makes sense. And it didn't do very well. It actually fucking flopped extremely hard in Japan, but they had already signed a contract to get it adapted into English because they had assumed it would be a success. But the thing is that they didn't, like, basically they just had this thing where it was like it was already adopted in English, they'd already paid everybody, and so they're like, fuck it, do whatever you want, we don't care. Just fucking get it out the door as soon as you can, we do not care. And so every single line delivery was just the first thing that they did. They never did any second shots. It's just all them fucking joking and fucking with each other constantly. And breaking, it's funny because it was literally just a bunch of voice actors who had just been given money to like vaguely dub something and sit and just, that's it. And they did it. It was fucking hilarious. You can also see over time they slowly devolve. It's funny. It's funny.
What was that one line? It's like, I'm not in love with, we can't be together because you're a rabbit, it's because you're black.
Yeah, no, but the way she delivers it is actually really good. It's because you're black. I think my favorite thing in that, what was it? They changed one of the kids to be Jewish, and so he has like a Mort Goldman voice. He has like a child Mort Goldman voice. Do your voice, MS, but as a child, and that's basically it.
As a child, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, no, that's basically it. And the whole thing was funny. But that brings me to a point. What were some anime, if any, that you watched when you were a kid?
Oh, when I was, interesting because I didn't really get into anime until I was in high school. There were some things I was a nerd about, and I would like even if everybody told me that that's stupid. Like StarCraft, I know the entire StarCraft lore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not proud of it, but I know it. Anime was one of those things I shied away from, but when I was young, I mean, I was really into Pokemon, but who wasn't at my age? And so I did watch the Pokemon anime.
Nice.
I also watched Full Metal Alchemist, like the original one.
Full Metal Alchemist is pretty good, actually.
It was very good.
I'm going to be the contrarian and say that I like the original run of Full Metal Alchemist on Adult Swim more than I like the actual like Brotherhood.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I watched when I was young. I didn't actually know that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood existed until much later. I found out about Full Metal Alchemist from staying up and watching Toonami.
Yeah. Toonami was fucking great. Toonami was great.
Oh, bygone era. Because Cartoon Network couldn't run their own channel 24 hours. So, Adult Swim. And, Adult Swim, all kids out of the pool. So, I liked Full Metal Alchemist. And to a lesser extent, I watched the Boondocks, although I had no idea what I was watching, and I wouldn't figure it out until later. And then later on, I got into Attack on Titan, and also Tokyo Ghoul, but we don't talk about that. Not proud of that last one.
I grew up with Gundam Wing, and I tried to rewatch it as an adult, and it's not good.
All right.
But I grew up with Toonami in a similar sense, where I would try my best to stay up late every night if I could to watch cartoons and like have the volume low so I didn't wake my parents.
I would do a
I
pretty
watched,
similar thing, yeah.
yeah, and I'd
Yeah.
watch Blue Submarine #6 was a pivotal influence when I was like, I think 7 or 8, and then Cowboy Bebop, like all the 90s anime were being shown on Toonami dubbed, and that was my formative experience in terms of like what I thought anime would be. And
Mhm.
so trying to get into anime later on, I was like, why isn't anything like that?
Well, I think it's because Toonami, despite what you'd say about it, did do a good job of, how do you say, adapting Japanese storylines to American tastes. It did do a good job of that.
Well, Toonami didn't make the stuff; they just transplanted it to. They just dubbed it.
No. That's what I'm saying. The dubs. That's what I'm talking about. The dubs in Toonami stuff was not literal dubs. A lot of what you have in modern anime with dubs is that it's literal. They're literally.
Oh yeah, you
translating
mean
words.
like translating where it's grammatically correct, but like nobody sounds like that.
Yeah, where that's what it says in the Japanese version, but it doesn't really sound right. While in Toonami, they've had a very loose kind of thing, where their main thing was as long as it vaguely follows the story, it's fine. And so they'd have them just curse, even though they didn't do that, or they'd have like entire like story places be weird and all of that stuff. But they made it make more sense for an American audience. They made it so that the characters had better motivations and better character that showed through. It was just a non-literal translation.
Eat your hamburgers, Apollo.
Yeah, but it worked. It did work. I mean, that was a translation people could really understand and get into. And it's why I think I hate, well, okay, I hate most modern anime because I genuinely despise the kind of shit that's being promoted in it. I enjoy stuff like One Piece, stuff like Naruto, because in the end, or stuff like Dragon Ball Z, because in the end, the kind of stories and the lessons that it promotes are very positive.
Or are you saying that you don't like the latest harem anime
I
where
don't
the
like pedophilia,
protagonist
no.
works a 9 to 5 job at a Denny's in a fantasy world
No, I
and
don't.
also fucks his sister?
Yeah,
I died as a 30-year-old salaryman and woke up as a god character in Horror Kingdom.
yeah, I know, and that kind of shit I hate. I hate it, and it's just really it's not Japan's fault. It's not the US's fault either. We both just, our animation industries are just going down the shitter mutually.
And it has, and every now and then they'll still make some shit like Violet Evergarden, which will be really, really fucking good.
Yeah.
And then we'll make something like Invincible, which I think was pretty good, honestly.
Invincible was, or sorry, you go first.
It stuck close enough to the source material that you could still kind of, because Invincible is what happens when somebody who hates the superhero genre makes something about superheroes. It's a very good inversion of your traditional superhero team, and that they have stayed true to that. And so I think the show has stayed true to what the comic was about. I like that, and I think they are both very good examples of good animation.
Yeah.
Aside
Then
from one part.
you've got like, and the thing I hate about isekais is that they fucking overran the medieval genre. You know, you used to get shit like Spice and Wolf, which would actually teach you about economics and about like what does it mean to debase a currency. I learned that when I was like 13 from watching that show. 14. You know, and it's genuinely interesting stories get replaced by insert character here fucks his sister in a fantasy world where he has a harem of elves and also there's a demon lord.
Yeah.
You know,
no, I fucking hate that shit. And the thing is, Japan used to have really good medieval fiction, really good European style medieval fiction, which is the weirdest thing, is that they really like that for some reason. And Japan used to have a lot of very good humanistic stories. But the thing was, is Japan basically had the equivalent of the writer's strike in the US, where pretty much all of their good writers were purged from their industry, and so they were stuck with schlock.
The end of Hollywood, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely true. After the writer's strike, Hollywood just fucking died. Nothing good ever came from it again. And the same thing a lot with manga and anime.
Well, I think with manga you get a better assortment of stuff, honestly.
Well, it's because it's usually done by one or two people.
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't say that manga suffered the same fate. I think manga, like the comic industry, still has a backbone in certain areas. It's very solid. Like basically half the shit Dark Horse makes. Dark Horse is one of my favorite publishers because they publish all of the smaller stuff that's actually interesting, you know?
Yeah, no, they publish weird books that
Dark
are not
Horse.
always good, but are always interesting.
And also Dynamite as well. They're another good comic publisher.
Really, the thing with me, I'm fine with something being bad as long as it's interesting.
Yeah. And I would, and I think overall manga is a little bit less corporate than comics are.
It is, because there's still a lot of doujin, although that's usually associated with porn, but it literally just means independent manga.
Yes.
But most of it's
just
porn.
so happens that
Most
a
of
lot
it's
of the
porn.
independent manga's porn.
Most of it's porn, but a lot of good stuff has come from that. Like the chainsaw head guy thing, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man. It's part 2's out, and I'm
Although it is funny that
excited.
all of the best manga is literally just, wow, capitalism fucking sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Literally all the best manga is either humanism or anti-capitalism or both, and that's all that there is.
And it's all, I mean, and even though my relationship with Tokyo Ghoul is incredibly weird because I picked it up at like the single edgiest part of my life that I do not talk about.
Yeah.
Because of course that's when you pick it up. But I look back on it now and say, that was a decent enough series. I liked it. I liked the ideas it played with, even if I don't think it was the greatest at times. I think they made it work overall. And then I look at the manga and I immediately have a flashback to when I was like 15.
Oh, you poor buddy.
And I recoil away because look, there are a lot of things I chose to forget about high school. We don't talk about it.
One good thing to come out of Tokyo Ghoul is that the opening theme song and those remixes of Modi fighting Xi Jinping.
Shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I love those animations so much.
I love them so much. That is literally basically like state propaganda in fucking India. It is so fucking hilarious. Oh my god.
Yes.
I was like, why the fuck can't we have shit like that?
We shall completely destroy the Chinese menace.
Well, okay, to be fair, they have that, but we have Ben Garrison.
True. Ben Garrison feels like he's getting tired recently, but he's still funny.
Ben Garrison is a national treasure. I don't agree with his politics, but the man is hysterical.
No, I think
we will use the anime opening to humiliate the Chinese.
I think my Indian accent is better than yours, MS.
Well, I'm trying to do a restrained one. If I do the cartoon, it's racist.
Well, I'm not doing a cartoon. I am doing a New Delhi accent. This is how it sounds. This is how you sound if you're from New Delhi. This is like, it's not a racist thing. That is actually how you talk.
That's a conversation for a different podcast.
Yeah, that is. By the way, the meme you posted about what you can learn from anime, that is a good point.
I need to point out that My Hero Academia is everything wrong with modern culture.
Oh, I fucking hate it. I hate it.
As much as Naruto devolved into a meme of itself, the characters actually had to go through serious struggle and ideological conflict in order to advance. And then Deku just gets handed the strongest power on the planet because he moved some televisions.
May Allah, the most gracious and merciful, damn all those who like My Hero Academia to the deepest of hells. Mashallah.
Imagine
And what is
In-
the power that Deku has? It is clearly a jinn. Deku's power is very haram, and he must be killed. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
but like the even the metaphor of him moving the beach or not moving the beach, but like cleaning it up, that to me is so fucking bizarre because that's like a day's work in rural communities. And it tells me that the person who wrote this has actually like never worked hard in their life.
Oh yeah.
Because they see that as like something insurmountable that would take an enormous effort of will and force.
It's like, no, my brother in Christ, get like 30 people from a church and go down to the beach for a day.
Give me 4 12-year-olds and say that you're gonna like buy us all collectively a copy of Rock Band, and we'll immediately have it done by the end of the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And with like a church, if you get like a church group together, you can literally clean the entire beach for like an 8-mile radius in a day.
Oh yeah, no, God fucking motivates the shit out of you, man. But
yeah,
this really does show, you can see the difference between a lot of the people who make good manga are normal human beings who are like actually human and lived through shit. I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
My point's not even about motivation, it's just the scale of the labor itself is something that seems like tremendous to someone who has never done labor.
No, and that's what I'm getting at. And that's what I'm getting at with, again, One Piece. Luffy does a lot of shit that's like big, but also like, you know, converts all his enemies and being friends, which I do like, but then it gets kind of ridiculous over time. But
I don't like that depending on the bad guy.
Okay, so look, it makes more sense earlier on when the bad guy is like, oh, I like rob ships. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense that you didn't really kill anybody. And then once you get to the end, when it's like, I'm a genocidal bourgeois dictator who's killing everybody, be my friend now.
Yeah, like the Demon Slayer thing where every single demon he's killed has killed like thousands of people. And then it's like, oh, here's their tragic backstory. Please feel sad for them. And it's like, no.
No, I think I'm good.
No,
I won't.
The One Piece had the same problem as Naruto and many other anime where it went on too long, and it went on so long that it became a parody of itself.
Yeah.
I would put every demon from Demon Slayer into the cuckhole.
Hey, Tito's greatest cuckhole. Yeah.
I also think that when you have a show that runs on for a very long time, like Naruto or One Piece, eventually you fall into the problem of expecting there to be more, you know? Well, we've been doing this since the 2000s. We have to keep going. What would we do after this? You know, this is the way it's always been.
Yeah.
I think it's very, you know, then they got into like Boruto and shit, and it's they just need to keep on doing this because this is what they do. And I think this is what marks like the best manga and the best anime is that they know when it's time to end it already.
Yes. You know? No, that is the most important part.
Knowing the right time to stick the landing. And if there's any questions that you haven't answered, well, shit, we can make a movie sometime.
Yeah.
For a tenth of a second, I thought you were going to say, and that's what Marx says.
No.
Yeah, remember when Marx talked about Naruto?
And you know, as you all clearly know, Marx said that Naruto was a blight and needs to end already.
The contradictions of capitalism.
And I'm going to bring up Violet Evergarden again because I fucking love that show. Oh my god. I first ended up watching that show with a cousin of mine who had just come home from Afghanistan. And, well, all right. It's kind of a really emotional shit. He sort of just talked about it, and he was like, holy fuck, you know? And he was, I mean, he was a medic. Like he was like an actual guy who stayed at like on base most days. Yeah. But he was like, I didn't personally go through this shit, but Jesus Christ, I saw people who did. You know?
Yeah, he got to see the damage firsthand.
Well, you have to be the guy who tries to fix these things, and says, you can do a lot to save people's lives, but how the fuck do you repair what they were? You know, you get your leg blown off. How do you ever go back to living that? And he just said, the amount of people I know and I worked on who lost limbs or things like that, You were in the wrong place, wrong time, stepped on an IED. Now you only have one leg. What the fuck do you do after that?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and he was so so that there was that show, and it was amazing. And we still get back together and
Voice
watch it every
happened.
now and
Just
then.
instantly came.
It's actually interesting because
He's-
he's getting married tomorrow.
Hello.
That's why I'm
Oh.
in Houston. So yeah, I am going to be the best man at his wedding. I don't know. I'm a little nervous, but back to anime.
Fucking goddamn it.
Back to anime. So it was good because they knew when to end it, and then like loose ends, make a movie, and more shit needs to do that. Don't make it run for 10 seasons. End it while it's great, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then go on and make something else great. There needs to be more shit like that, and there isn't, and it bugs the fuck out of me.
Well, to go even further back, the 3 most important video games that were ever made are Quake 1, Deus Ex, and Metal Gear Solid 2. Bring it back to the original subject.
Yeah. What do you think? But then there was also like, God, some of the early Pokemon shit, like Mystery Dungeon. Oh my god.
Pokemon, if we're talking influence, didn't actually influence very much.
No. I'm just thinking like, yeah, that's actually true. I'm just thinking about like the shit that was impactful on me.
Yeah, personal development.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
fair.
I fucking loved Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, and then later Explorers of Sky. What's the meme? You know, Nintendo says, "Well, you shouldn't pirate our games." My brother in Christ, a copy of that game is over $100 now.
If you can find it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I can pirate it for free.
I don't remember his name, but I do have to bring him up, and Japanese listeners will probably know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, all
We
the
have
Japanese listeners.
Assuming we have any. But there is a guy who I believe is now elected in Japan at some level of like region politics, where he's trying to go after video game preservation specifically for that, where he wants to challenge Nintendo and the other IP laws, where it's like, if you have a video game that people will still buy or even go out of their way to pirate, that if you do not provide a means of getting that game through either a store or a download link, then you cannot prosecute in any way people who do distribute the game.
And that would be absolutely, legally speaking, that would be the most logical thing to do, because if you do not give people a means to experience something, why is it illegal for them to experience it?
I've tried to explain this to like older liberals, and they can't fathom why you would even want a situation like that. And they're like, well, what about all the people who put all the money into the new games? I'm like, their new games suck. Or like, oh, well, that'll just take profit out of the game. And it's like, no, the game has not been sold for 15 years.
Yeah, it's like a lot of liberals cannot understand a lot of things. And one of those biggest things they can't understand is just people want things even if it's not profitable. Mm-hmm. People want things, and people don't always like the newest thing. Sometimes they want something that's a bit older.
Best product is not always the one somebody want. You know, the best product is not always what's newest. It might just be what somebody wants.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think with getting on the topic of video games, I mean, in the last 10 to 15 years, we have seen the return of retro style pixel art back into the mainstream. It always had a place on places like Newgrounds, RPG Maker, shit like that, all the really indie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had games like Papers, Please, which sold a bajillion copies, and shit like Stardew Valley, that it really bring back that 16-bit art style back, even though it's not the greatest. It looks a little shabby, but it's an aesthetic.
Yeah, and it's cheaper to work with, and you can do more with it. You can be more ambitious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they could get real-time destruction in a video game, I would pay for it to have like Silent Hill graphics.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that comes down to it. If I could get like a lot of the really extensive shit that I like and I would love to have, Fuck yeah, I'd sacrifice a lot for it. I'd sacrifice graphics up the ass if I could get like my open world game with all the choices and all that. It's why I play fucking
Yeah.
Dwarf Fortress and Dark Days Ahead.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because we're sort of getting it's back to the real root of trying to make a product creatively. You've got 1, 2, at the most a dozen guys in a dream, you know? And
Yeah.
that's what drove the early video game industry. That's what drove companies like Black Isle, which was, you know, we're doing it because it's
Or Troika.
because we want to make a profit. Yeah, Troika as well.
Even Bungie, like nerds making
Yeah.
games for nerds.
No,
mean,
early Bungie was fucking amazing.
It's like and as late as like Marathon and
Marathon
crap like
is
that,
great.
you know. I fucking love Marathon.
I would kill for a marathon, like a new game in the Marathon series. Come on, it's so cool. Fuck you.
You say I say this like a big System Shock fan. God damn it, Night Dive, finish the fucking remake already.
System Shock, my beloved. No, yeah, they canceled it, didn't they?
Okay. Can I cry about this for a
They're
second?
still
No.
canceled System Shock 3.
So System Shock 3 was announced in 2019 or like 2016. And I was more excited for a video game based on that than I was for pretty much anything coming out at that point.
Oh, I was too.
And there's an interview with Warren Spector from March of this year where he says not only has it been canceled, but Tencent owns the rights to it, so no one knows if it's even ever going to be developed.
The System Shock remake, I think. Now, if you'll don't despair too much because we have. I love them, but they drive me insane sometimes. Night Dive Studios, because they own the rights to make a System Shock remake, and they've been. I mean, there's a demo out right now. I mean, it's from like a year ago now, but apparently they've hit roadblocks with development. However, there very clearly is a game, and given that Night Dive has done good work in the past, and they really do care, I am tentatively hopeful that a System Shock remake will be good. Even though, honestly, when it comes to the remakes of games that I love, kind of had the hope beaten out of me sometimes, you know?
Yeah, no, I know.
I think with System Shock, like, it's not going to be a hard game to update to at least semi-modern graphics. But it's like the gameplay, if you keep it the way it was, you're never going to sell a copy.
You gotta update the gameplay, but everything around the gameplay is amazing.
But the thing is, like, you can't adopt the gameplay or adapt the gameplay for modern audiences because the game itself is so like specific an experience that relies on that gameplay.
System Shock is a game that feels like I'm using a graphing calculator. No, they've sort of adopted your typical sort of immersive sim layout. They're very much like the System Shock 2 style of gameplay. They've kept the hacking bits, but overall gameplay is more System Shock 2 than System Shock 1, which is good, I think. I think that's a nice change because one, although it's a unique experience in and of itself, jank as fuck.
Yeah. Really, the original System Shock games are both jank as fuck.
Yeah,
but
2 wasn't so bad.
2 wasn't so okay. Well, like,
the gunplay in 2 was, as immersive sims for the time go, solid.
That's saying literally nothing.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying it was something that high school me could get back into. The psionic system was fucking weird. That was like, it was every ability they couldn't really figure out what to do with, and so they lumped together into psionics, and that's weird and all that, and like guns fire 3 times before they break.
Yeah.
Any game that allows me to like telekinetically grab something from across the room is instantly upgraded in my opinion because that's still my favorite like ability.
Well, yeah, you just want to telekinetically destroy the entirety of Japan, don't you?
No.
Well,
Taiwan I want to destroy.
Oh, great. So much better.
Oh, no.
Fucking Jesus.
Hey, they fist raped my state. Any animosity I have for them is justified.
I thought the mainland did that too.
No, China did nothing wrong to Wisconsin. Taiwan stole an entire year and a half of money from us.
That's fair. What China did is they did to the rest of the steel belt.
Well,
Well, not okay. They did about as much as Clinton did, but
To be fair, it is more the fault of like Clinton and all that because they gave the Chinese the tools. It's really, with a lot of it, the Chinese man is not my enemy. The Taiwanese man and the U.S. government official is my enemy.
my question is more why are we spending our defense dollars on this again? But
because we need to spend our defense dollars.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Of all fucking things,
MS, I want my medication to be cheaper.
to tie it back to video games, that reminds me of something in the last moments of the original Red Dead Redemption game,
Oh,
where he says, "When I'm gone, they'll just find another monster. They have to. They have to justify their wages."
you can't fight gravity.
Yeah. It is funny how the Red Dead Redemption games, how Rockstar became the thing they hated. In the original Red Dead Redemption game, like, the whole thing was just kind of, wow, I hate the fucking feds, and wow, I hate big companies. And then 2 is a really kind of muddled version of that.
And yet, the thing about 2 is that it's one of the only instances of a AAA game coming out where I had certain expectations for what it would be, and then those expectations were actually met. And for that reason, Red Dead Redemption 2, in my opinion, I think it's a great game, honestly, because it delivered on what it promised, unlike so many other games, which was good because I pre-ordered it for my brother for his birthday. So it would have been a really, really awkward moment for me if it was a terrible game. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it worked out.
But
And
all of those things were achieved through predatory business practices and basically slave
absolutely.
labor.
It's one of those it was a horrible thing they did to get it that way, but I can't help but admire what I can't let that get in the way of my appreciation for what they made,
And what I say,
I don't
admire the
appreciate
developers, do not admire Rockstar.
Oh no, I don't. But I do admire the developers because I feel, and I admire the game because I feel like if I didn't, then it would, then what the fuck did the developers work that hard for?
Yeah, I understand.
Money.
But money, yeah.
Still, better practice. At least they're not EA.
That is saying fucking nothing.
That's true. It isn't.
Saying at least it's not EA is kind of like saying at least it's not Hitler.
Here's the thing.
No. Here's what you can say. At least it's not the Cosby room in the Activision Blizzard office.
True.
That's true. Although, to be fair, but my hatred of EA, they killed Westwood.
EA killed so many goddamn good studios.
They killed Command and Conquer, and then they brought it back. It's like
a mobile game.
An EA executive wearing the skin of Command and Conquer.
Oh, people can fly in Pandemic, my beloved. No.
I'm going to piss off some of our audience by saying this, but every single gamer is culpable in this problem, and they deserve every ounce of bad game they get because they cannot stop fucking pre-ordering these games.
I know. They keep buying this shit. It's like the guy who protested, quote unquote, Diablo Immortals shit by literally fucking giving them like $60,000.
Yeah, the guy who was like, is this an unplanned or this is an ill-timed April Fool's joke? And then like on stream giving Diablo Immortal like $40,000.
Wait, explain that to me.
So when they announced, I think this is what happened, but it's based off of like me hearing it from someone who heard it from someone who then watched it happen.
I can verify, so
there's when they initially announced Diablo Immortal like 5-6 years ago, they had that bald guy walk up after they said that it was going to be a mobile game, and he was basically like, "Is this an ill-timed April Fool's prank?" And the entire audience was like, "Yeah, awesome! He said what we're all thinking." Woo! And then the devs said or the Blizzard marketing exec on the was giving the presentation was like, "You all have phones."
No, yeah, he literally said it like this. Well, you all have phones, right? He said it in like the most condescending, cunty way possible, and it just got boos from everyone. It's like, fuck you.
But then, like, Diablo Immortal came out, and he not only instantly got it, but immediately started, it's a gacha game, and he just fucking hurled money into it. Tens of thousands of dollars over one night, and it's just like,
I fucking hate, okay, on the one hand,
you people deserve everything.
Games. On the one hand, I fucking hate gacha games. On the other hand, I might play some gacha games.
Oh no, I have nothing against the games itself, as like the concept of the game is merely a product. It's that I hate the audience that allows that to become the norm. And gamers have definitely been the major contributing factor to why games have gotten so shit.
Command & Conquer Rivals is also a gacha game. It has loot boxes. And it made me so fucking sad. Because I love Command & Conquer. And I was kind of and to be fair, I did like the remake, but the only new stuff they've made for Command & Conquer is a fucking gacha game. And for those who haven't played Command & Conquer Rivals, it's a little broken because it's one of those games that's impossible to be free to play on, because if you pay $5, they'll give you some of the best units in the game. They'll give you Titans and Zone Troopers, and you can just mop the floor with anybody who hasn't gone into that, and it doesn't wail. And so you never really catch up. And as much as I love Command & Conquer, I'm not willing to spend money for their fucking loot boxes. Mm-hmm. Not for EA.
By the way, we have about 10 more minutes.
Right.
Just telling you guys, we're good. This is going to be a longer episode, so just noting you guys, we're going towards the end.
Yeah, but if you don't if you're not willing to spend that kind of money, you're fucked, and you may as well not play.
I'm getting more joy out of just having my PS90 sit in a box than like looking at any EA release in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, the main thing in the end is just that I'm just praying to God the video game industry fucking crashes soon so I can get some decent fucking games.
What's interesting is how you always think of the indie sector of development as being an indie sector and never going to be able to compete with like mainline developers and publishers. Mm-hmm. But they're managing to now, and that transition is going to be hilarious to watch the cope when like the major companies start balkanizing.
Oh yeah, what you're going to see is you're going to see all these major companies who are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a game, and then some game somebody made for like $5 in their spare time sells more. And they're just like, no, and just fucking collapse.
They have Polygon write an article about why you're actually being misogynist.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Being pro labor rights is actually sexist. Here's why. Reminds me of all the Dark Brandon stuff, where either the news is trying to say that it's pro liberal and pro Biden. It's not. Or it's trying to say that it's secretly racist. It's not. Because they don't seem to understand that poll is not the only board on 4chan.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to understand that the main point of Dark Brandon is that it's like, God, I wish he was like that, because that would be so much fucking better. Mm-hmm. I would rather have a dictator who actually did what he said.
And see, the perception of the media has a weird perception of 4chan because, again, they think it's all just poll. They don't understand. If the media knew about VT,
yeah.
But yeah,
the media knew about B.
Though, don't get me started.
If the media looked at GIF for 3 seconds.
No, the media's the media's perception of 4chan is like the Riddler from the new Batman movie.
It is. It literally
That's
is.
I saw it soon after it came out with my dad, who is a massive DC fan, and I was back home for a time. But we watched it. He said, "What do you think of the Riddler?" I said, "They intended to make the Riddler somebody on 4chan. It came off more as a Redditor."
It did come. Okay, and then that's fair. Is that a lot of like the community that he like built up around him and all of that? It came off as like incel redditors more than people from 4chan. But the thing is,
so enough to be 4chan.
But the thing is, 4chan is dead. 4chan is just new Reddit. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well,
there is
4chan will never be what it was.
Well, no, the internet's centralized. Even 4chan is owned by millionaires. So all it is that it's just bullshit.
Have you ever heard of the Aquinas Protocol, Core?
Oh, fuck off.
Have you heard of COINTELPRO? And
oh my god. No, we're not doing fucking Deus Ex. We have like 5 minutes left in the episode. We're not getting to fucking Deus Ex.
What do you do? What do you do? I fly copters. Ever been to Area 51?
I do love him in that though.
So, and yet the problem, I think
Why don't you try getting a job?
Platform, I think as a platform, 4chan is slightly better than Reddit, even though it is just
that is a low
Reddit.
bar.
It's a very low bar, yes. I would say, oh god, maybe like, I don't know. Do the people on is Something Awful still around? Do they still do shit?
Yeah, not really. It still exists, but it's not really as active as it used to be.
Yeah, but I guess like that would be the closest thing, I guess, to how things were, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the problem, again, the problem with any big platform on the internet. Once people know about it, it stops being cool.
Yeah, and 4chan is not cool, and it never will be cool again. It makes me sad because I did genuinely enjoy it back when I was younger. But as time goes...
We don't talk about when I was on 4chan.
No, and the thing is, when you're a kid, it's a lot of fun. When you're a teen, it's a lot of fun. But then when you get older, you realize these people are dweebs, and they need to get a fucking job.
You realize a lot of them are just stupid.
No, a lot of them are just stupid. They're not like being ironic. They're just dumb. And it kind of kills it for you.
And it was like, wait, it was all supposed to be a joke. They don't think it's they don't think it's a joke.
Yeah, I know.
It's that one guy's quote, but real.
He was a good man. What a rotten way to die.
EA executives over in the corner. A bunch of pretentious old men playing at running the world. But the world left them behind long ago.
Oh, I love that one.
Are the future.
We are. Oh god, then there's that's right. The writing will become. Oh, well, can't be contained. The other classes are getting restless. Of course, they're restless. They can smell their blood on the streets, and
they can smell their death.
And the sound they'll make rattling their cage will serve as a warning to all the others.
Oh, wait, I got one. Oh, fuck, what was it? It was the one about when you kill Navarra. Jesus, JC, you killed Agent Navarra. They won't blink an eye to kill you. Neither did I.
No.
I can't remember how it goes exactly, but I remember.
If they find out, they'll kill you. They won't even bat an eye. Neither did I.
I love JC so much. He's so fucking funny in just like this like driest, snarkiest way possible.
And to those who are real dorks out there who might know about the Lady Denton mod which was
good mod, really well made mod.
The humor is a little bit too dry now. See, I think what makes JC Denton's humor work is that he is not always going on with the incredibly dry humor. It's only sometimes.
Yeah, he doesn't always bring out his zingers.
Moments. Yeah, and so with the mod, it's got too much of that.
Yeah, no, but I think it's still a very well-made mod, and I do respect it a lot.
Dweeb. But yeah, no, it's one of the better ones.
Anyways, go play as Rick in the hit game Fortnite.
Fuck you. A bomb!
Look, now, look, MS. See, I believe that we can use video games for education, which is why Fortnite is going to teach kids about civil rights.
I forgot about that.
Okay,
Oh,
but
I
here's
remember that one.
an actual thing from today. So I went for a walk in downtown Houston. Being the nerd that I am, I went to go look at all the churches because there are quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
And as I walked past a federal penitentiary holding center, I saw a kid on the steps doing the Fortnite dance.
Oh,
I was filled with rage.
I know. Whenever I see that shit in real life, it just makes me angry.
You can have the
Look,
soy
it's not
food.
that he was doing it; it's that he was doing it in front of a federal prison.
Oh my god.
Show some goddamn respect.
I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not gonna sit here and listen. Fuck! God damn it! I had it. Shit. I'm not gonna sit here and listen. Kane, someone else do it. I'm just fucking up. I'm not gonna
I'm
listen.
not gonna sit here and listen to you bad mouth the greatest democracy the world's ever known.
Thank
Your
you.
mic is
Thank you.
nowhere near peaky enough for it to be good.
No, I can't do it. His delivery was so good. Yeah, I think that's really wrapping it up. So,
Yeah.
oh shit, there's the timer actually, just to tell me that we should be
Right
wrapping
on
up.
time then.
Yeah,
Play Devil Daggers. It is the best game for shooting things. Play
Yeah.
Disco Elysium because communists made it.
Communists made it, and communists don't
So there's this
understand it.
really, really fun site called E